We are live this week, week number 2 of the Social Distancing College Crossfire show, and I am great to be back. I know last week we wanted to make sure that this was possible, and we got great reviews, and people loved the content, and we said, you know what, let's do another one because there is enough sports to talk about, and we are back with an excellent panel tonight. We got returning champ Adam coming back. We have 2 great challengers, former champions, and Robert and Henry. Very excited for this show. Guys, I talked to Adam a little, but first, Robert and Henry, it's been a while. How are you guys doing, and where are you guys right now? Just in the world, I guess, because we could be all over at this point.
You go ahead, Robert.
All right, thank you. I am in Lubbock, Texas, here in the 806, trying to represent for you guys out here wherever you may be, trying to do my best. But, I mean, a lot of sports happening. Very excited for today's show.
Awesome. Great. Henry?
Yeah, so I am currently home in Long Island, New York. Don't be too alarmed. I am not in the city. The city is the worst part. But Long Island is pretty. I mean, New York is, I guess, bad in general, but Long Island's not too bad. I'm doing well. My family's doing well. And I think this that we're doing this with Crossfire is awesome. Maybe this can be the way Crossfire is in the future, even when we're not social distancing.
Well, you know what? This wouldn't have been possible some years ago. And it's great that we can, that technology is evolved and we can do a show like this. And like I said, despite there not being live sports right now, we do have plenty of stuff to talk about. So I am excited that we could do another show right now. Some of the headlines we'll be talking about today will range from women's basketball. That was really the main Texas grab of this week, which we'll get into a little more with the firing of, I guess you could say, release of Karen Aston and then the hiring of Vic Shaefer. There's plenty of other sports topics to talk about. Some we're not hitting today, but it looks like the UFC is back in business and they're trying to do something. They're trying to be one of the first sports companies sports leagues to try to get back into business very early as less than 2 weeks, which a lot of other sports have been pushing back. For example, we'll get into some baseball later today and talk about how they're trying to manage their season and, get back on the right track. But, I think a big thing, and we're going to get into this, but I think this is one of the bigger topics we could talk about right now, is the NBA Hall of Fame class was announced, and we knew it was coming, but those 3 guys are Garnett, Duncan, and Kobe, and it's weird to say that it's weird to feel that Kobe Bryant wasn't there to talk about his about getting this honor of being a Hall of Famer. And Vanessa Bryant said it best that Kobe would have thought that this was the peak, the ultimate goal of any basketball player's career, and it's just very sad, guys. I don't know if you guys have any thoughts about that.
Yeah, I mean, watching the interview with Vanessa and one of her other daughters, I forget the name of the daughter she was interviewing with. I mean, you could just tell Vanessa was holding back the tears. I mean, it looked like she was trying really, really hard to get through that strong, and she did it. So props to her. But I mean, it is really sad. But at least Kobe, I'm sure Kobe knew he was going to be in. So unfortunately, he's not able to enjoy it and witness it. But his legacy will still live on.
Of course, we also, we saw that. We also saw, we'll get into some all-decade teams that we saw. So the NFL did the 2010 all-decade team, so that gave us a little news. Plenty of guys got voted in unanimously. It seems for the most part that the teams, that nobody's really missing, but I could be wrong. We'll all find that out later if I'm wrong about that, but we'll get into some of that later. To get off the topic right now, sports a little. First off, I guess I asked Adam a little last week, but how's everybody's classes going? How's everybody getting adjusted to being online, I guess? Anybody could throw it in.
Oh, I got you. Classes, different beast. I mean, I feel like there's a reason why people prefer to go with other people and do it, and it is awkward. I mean, if you think like doing this show, a little bit different, but going in class is a completely different beast. I mean, it's kind of prepare, bed in to be on camera and have other people see me. Been a completely different beast too. I mean, now you got, who knows what they're going to come up with to make sure people. I mean, it's a whole crazy deal. I think the whole system has been kind of upended, but. I will give UT some credit. I do think the steps of making every class available to do pass-fail has definitely helped. I think for them maybe going home, add some stress that they wouldn't have had when they're in Austin. But overall, I think we're all just making the best of a very unfortunate situation, and classes, I mean, are no different.
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, it seems like one of those things that everybody's getting used to, and definitely, I think a majority of people would prefer to be in class or maybe more active learning. But you got to do what you got to do, and we're hoping, but most likely assuming that by next semester we'll all get back to this. I mean, the only kid that might have to deal with it is summer, but by the summertime, there's probably no online classes to offer anyway at this point. I threw it out last week as well because we're all in quarantine and we're trying to do stuff. What have you guys been doing since you guys been inside for the most part? TV shows, video games, board games. I know I've been playing some board games online with some friends that I haven't been able to see, and that's been fun. I've been watching plenty of TV shows. What about you guys? Without any, I know there's no sports on, which is not great, but there's plenty of other stuff to be watching or doing.
Go ahead, Adam.
Yeah, not a ton of TV here so far. Just busy with stuff, but a lot of family time, a lot of definitely some competitive Mario Kart races and stuff like that. So making the most of it with family and enjoying the time to be back around them here in Houston.
That's great. That's really good. Like I said last week, family, very important. Anybody else?
Yeah. So I actually think that I've been doing a pretty good job of keeping myself occupied. I made a TikTok, so check me out on TikTok. Don't worry, I don't post like the regular dumb TikToks. I actually post funny TikToks because I'm really funny. So make sure you hit me up on TikTok. Also, Zach, you're gonna like this. I started doing this 8-week program to increase your vertical.
Okay.
So hopefully, being a guy who's 6 feet 3 inches, I'll actually be able to dunk a basketball one of these days. So
I hope you've been playing pickup all the time. So I really hope that by the next time I see you or get on the court with you, you will be dunking the ball. But we hope that vertical program works out for you. I know myself. I don't know if it worked out for me. I don't got those hops, but
neither do I. That's why I'm doing this program.
Hey, you got to find ways. I guarantee a lot of those programs are like, I guarantee I can get you 3 inches or 4 inches off.
Yeah, I mean that's what they say, but the reviews. It's called VertShock, the program. I don't know. The reviews have been pretty good, so I'm gonna trust the process on this one.
You know what? There it is. Nice sports drivers. Trust the process, and I would if I'm you. What else? What better do you have to do right now? All you got to do is just trust the process and understand that. Hey, if I'm going to do anything, like I said, I was thinking about learning potentially an instrument, but the only things that I decided, I don't have any instruments with me right now in Austin, and I don't know if I'm planning on getting one. But if I did, I would definitely do something like that. I'm not a big reader, but if there was a book I was interested in, definitely would consider reading. But I think I've been staying on the TV show grind. I just finished True Detective. I'm not sure if anybody's seen that show, but good show, worth a watch. It's on HBO. But we are very close to going live, guys. We're about a minute or two away. Very, very good show planned tonight, and I'm really excited with the panel we have. I think it's going to be one of the best shows of the semester, guys.
I think. Oh, okay. Never mind.
Women's basketball hires a proven winner. Bryant, Duncan, and Garnett all in one class. And bye Fembis. All this and more on College Crossfire. Welcome back into College Crossfire, folks, the hottest debate show on the 48. And we are back for our second of the semester. Despite there not being any live panel, still has plenty to debate. Now, let's meet the panel on first base. We have Adam. How are you doing?
Doing good here in Houston. Happy to report that everyone's healthy here, and just obviously, again, prayers out to all those fighting this on the front line.
Awesome. And on second base, we have Robert Trevino. Robert, how are you doing, and how are you feeling right now?
I'm feeling pretty good under the circumstances out here in Lubbock, Texas. So for all the Texas Tech folks out there, we're going to represent. I'm not going to represent you, but in the vein of where I am, I may consider me your representative. Once again, like Adam said, want to send a shout out to all the people that are helping us through this crisis, mostly at all the levels of government and pretty much anything else.
Awesome. And on third base, we have the Long Island boy himself, Henry Corwin. Henry, how are you doing up there in New York?
Oh, yes, sir. I'm doing great, Zach. Obviously, like you said, out on Long Island. I'm just keeping, positive mindset. The peak in New York, we haven't hit it yet. We're getting there, though, but so there are reports that the curve is starting to flatten. So I'm have positive mindset, and I'm knowing that we're going to all get through this.
Well, you know what? From one LI boy to another, I'm glad that you are doing well, and good luck to everyone tonight. So we start off with this past weekend, Texas women's basketball decided not to renew longtime head coach Karen Aston's contract and let her go. Aston spent 8 years as the Longhorns head coach and made the tournament 6 out of her first 7 years. She had an overall record of 184 and 83, but never was able to win a Big 12 regular season championship. So, was this the right time to get rid of Aston? Anybody can hop in.
Okay, so yeah, I guess I'll go first. So, Karen Aston, did she deserve to be fired? No, but I don't think Texas was wrong to let her go. Like you said, Zach, she's been great so far. She's in her 8 years at Texas, she's had a 689 winning percentage at Texas. She made 4 straight trips to the Sweet 16 during her tenure. I understand she may have underperformed a little bit, with the talent she had. But I think one of the biggest reasons that Karen Aston has been let go is because she was not able to get past Baylor. She had a 1-18 record in her tenure at Texas versus Baylor. A 5-14 record would have been considered bad, let alone 1-18. So the question really comes down to if that is a big part of why she was let go, is it fair to let her go just because of one opponent that she couldn't get past? If I'm going to answer that question, or maybe not one opponent, just the fact that she just couldn't get over a big hump while she was doing well in general, my answer is going to be yes. When I thought of this, I immediately thought of some NBA coaches that have been let go. George Karl was coach of the year, and he got fired. Dwayne Casey got fired after some great season with the Raptors. He couldn't get him to the next level. David Blatt had the highest winning percentage in the history of the NBA, and he got let go from the Cavs. So at basketball at a high level, it's never about winning a lot of games. It's about winning the games that matter. Karen Aston seemed like she couldn't do that. So, yeah, I don't think that Texas was out of bounds to let her go at this point.
Yeah, I think that last point you made right there about saying not winning the games that mattered, and that's ultimately what Baylor games were, and she just wasn't able to do it. Adam or Robert?
I'm actually going to go
I love Henry's. Oh, you go ahead. You got it. Returning champ. I'm going to give you that. You earned it.
Sorry about that.
Returning champ. You got it.
Adam, go in there.
Yeah, I'm going to actually go opposite of Henry here. I think Karen Aston, she deserved one more year. And that's just with all this uncertainty going on. She didn't have a chance to prove herself in the tournament. And like Henry said, she took them to 4 straight Sweet 16s. She took them to an Elite 8. They beat number 1 Stanford earlier this year. I know her contract was running out in this summer, and so they had to make a decision. I think the happiest decision, give her one more year, let her actually finish the season, because we don't know how they would have been performed in the tournament this year, because they had 3 big seniors. And so I just think it's a little bit harsh on her, circumstances out of her control to let her go this year. So I think a one-year contract extension would have been happy for all parties.
Yeah, I think timing is really just the key there, it seems like, with Karen Aston. And she made it, like we said, a 6 straight and would have been 7 straight most likely. But with timing and contract negotiations, it might have been the reason why they let it go. Robert?
Well, I think this comes back to the 3 letters that have practically saved UT over the last few years, and that is C, D, C. I think if you look at everything, you look at Aston's record. I love what Henry said. This question ultimately comes down to what do you want out of the program? What next step is there? And Aston couldn't take Texas to that next step. We'd seen it. 6 tournament appearances in her 8 years, which you can't really count this year at all. An Elite 8, turning the program around before she got to the program, hadn't been to the Sweet 16 since 2004, but she couldn't beat Baylor. And that's why, if you're saying what do you want your program to be, and you want it to return to not just being a good, solid program that makes a tournament every year, but you want it to be the powerhouse that Texas used to be, then you're only right to fire Aston. However, when they made the move, I was not in agreement of it, but I understood that you had a man, Chris Del Conte, who's made the great moves that he has. You knew he had something up his sleeve.
Yeah, it seems like ever since CDC has come here, Del Conte, he's made some great moves. And I agree with you, Robert. I think that he's made great moves, and this one could be another one if we look down the road the next 2 or 3 years. To start out that round, we're going to have Henry with 3 points, Robert with 3 points, and Adam with 2. Now we move on to another women's basketball question. Well, it didn't take long for the Longhorns to find a replacement for Aston. On Sunday, the team hired former Mississippi State head coach Vic Shaefer. Shaefer was super successful during his time in Starkville, making the tournament 6 times and making the Final Four twice, which resulted in back-to-back runner-up performances. Shaefer also has a long history in Texas. He was born here and has coached multiple college teams in the state. So, do you guys think Vic Shaefer was the right hire? Anybody?
All right, I'll go first on this one since I went last time. I was also worried about somebody else coming in, like what happened last time, because it's a little bit behind, a little delayed here. Oh no, you're good. But I'm going to go back to the question that I just answered before, and that is, I knew CDC had something up his sleeve. He had to. Otherwise, why get rid of a great coach in Karen Aston? And Vic Shaefer was that right move. 78.1 winning percentage at Mississippi State. I mean, you look at that. Texas Tech is right down the road from me. They know something about runner-up national championship appearances. So Mississippi State, to have 2 of those in a row is no small deal. Like I said in the answer before, you want to take that next step into making Texas the national contender every year and challenging Kim Mulkey and the Baylor and challenging Baylor. This is how you make that next step. And if you're going to get rid of somebody like Aston, Shaefer is the right move. They have lost Mississippi State 4 conference games in the last 3 years. That screams somebody that's going to turn the ship around for Texas in the Big 12. I think they will. I think this was a fantastic hire. And hey, if you're going to get rid of somebody like Aston, you have to make a hire like Vic Shaefer.
Exactly, like you just said there. Karen Aston's a big name, but you even got a bigger one right there in Vic Shaefer. Adam or Henry?
All right, I'm gonna agree with Robert. It's the absolute perfect hire. If you're gonna let Karen Aston go, you need a big name, and that's exactly what Vic Shaefer is. He's an Austin native, so perfect, Texas born and bred. But you look at the success he had at Mississippi State, and like Robert said, Starkville is not an easy place to go in and win. So considering he had 2 national championship appearances, one of them they lost in that buzzer beater to Rika Agumbawale. They knocked off UConn in their 111-game winning streak in the Final Four. So he has that experience in big games. He's won big games, and that's what he's going to need to do here in Austin when the Horns have to face the Baylor Bears twice a year. So he was the National Women's Coach of the Year in 2018. So just all this accreditations, I think he's a perfect hire. I think he's going to bring success here in Austin.
Yeah, I definitely agree there. Like you said, he's an Austin native or born and bred in Texas. He knows what it means to win as a Longhorn or for the Longhorns, and I think UT made a solid hire here. Henry.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with these two. You can't go wrong with this hire. This is a great hire. I mean, Vic Shaefer had a 781 winning percentage at Mississippi State. I mean, that's more than good. That is phenomenal, winning more than three of every 4 games. That's incredible. So, yeah, I think it's a great hire. I think, he's definitely had a lot of success at Mississippi State. However, and I don't mean to be too much of a nitpicker here, but one thing I did find funny when I was about this was that I just spoke about how Karen Aston couldn't get the Longhorns over the hump. Well, while Vic Shaefer has definitely gone over more humps than Karen Aston, I mean, Vic Shaefer won the SEC twice. However, Vic Shaefer has lost twice in a national championship game. He hasn't been able to get over that hump. So I don't want to vilify him for not getting to the highest peak, but there are still places that Vic Shaefer was not able to take his program.
Yeah, I agree there. I mean, like you said, I mean, he is proven in a winner, but he still hasn't won a national championship at his time as a head coach. After that round, we're going to have 5 for Robert, 5 for Henry, and 5 for Adam. Now we move on. During this time period, everyone across the country is practicing social distancing by finding ways to remove themselves from others that can get them sick. This past year, there were many Texas Longhorn highs to cheer for, but also many lows to be embarrassed about. So, a Texas sports team should be avoiding or social distancing from next season. Adam, let's start with you. Adam?
All right, good stuff. So I think what something the Longhorns as a whole sports program needs to social distance from is false hope. We see it here in this LSU highlight. The amount of times the Horns, they got our anticipation up, and then it absolutely fell off a cliff. You look at LSU in football, they come back within a touchdown, almost get an onside kick. LSU in basketball, overcome an 18-point deficit only to lose at the end. You got women's basketball. They start off the year by beating number 1 Stanford, and they get absolutely blown out by Baylor twice. So there's so much anticipation and hype between the Texas sports programs this year. And then when it got to that crucial moment, they didn't deliver. So they got to stay away from false hope next year.
Good answer, Adam. Robert?
Yeah, well, this is related to false hope and close games, but this is an infuriating thing that I feel like takes place in a lot of programs at UT, and that is playing down to competition. It drives people crazy. I think even crazier than maybe not having a top-tier team is having a solid team that allows worse teams to hang around. I mean, you don't even need to go anywhere. You look at men's basketball up against Radford. That team should never be in a game with you. You look at football, Kansas, at home. That team should never be in a game with you. You look even at women's basketball this last year, starting off the year playing competitive games against South Florida and Hawaii, teams that, although are pretty good, did not belong in the conversation with Texas's team, who had a lot of expectations going in. So I think as a whole, Texas likes to play down to their competition in some respects, and I'm cool with losses to LSU. Hey, bring College game day. If we want to lose by 4 and go 11-1, I'm all good for that. But let's make sure we beat Kansas by a solid amount.
Good end. Robert, Henry, quickly, what do you got, my man?
All right, so I think the biggest issue with Texas is not what they should be socially distancing themselves from. It's things they should stop socially distancing themselves from. So, for example, their secondary needs to stop socially distancing themselves from the receivers, and their men's basketball team needs to stop socially distancing themselves from fans. However, one thing they need to socially distance themselves from, like Adam said, Texas needs to socially distance itself from its history. The history of Texas is what has made it such a great historical school, but it's also the worst enemy of Texas right now because the standards that Texas sports has is all because of their history back then. They can't get out of the shadow.
Henry, that was another great answer, my man. Those are some good points right there. But after this round, we'll have Henry with 8, Adam with 7, and Robert with 7. When we come back, the panel debates who really deserve to make the NFL All-Decade team and how MLB teams will adjust to shortening games. Let's quickly recap the score. Right now we have 8 for Henry, 7 for Robert, and 7 for Adam, but it's still anybody's game. Last week, the Basketball Hall of Fame announced its 2020 class. The class includes the late, great Kobe Bryant, Tim Duncan, and Kevin Garnett. All 3 of these players are proven winners and won MVPs during their time playing basketball. They all defined a generation. Other amazing players and coaches were added to this class as well, and it led to a heated debate about the greatest Hall of Fame classes of all time. So, do you believe the 2020 class is the best? Robert, let's start with you on this one.
I've been going through this debate in my head mentally since the class was announced, and obviously, comparisons to obviously the class of 2009, which had, of course, Michael Jordan, you had David Robinson, you had John Stockton. Those players, I think, were super influential. You have probably the greatest player of all time with Michael Jordan on there. But I think 2020, because of the unfortunate events that have occurred with Kobe Bryant, it just means so much to the game that I think the class of 2020 is not only filled with these legends, but it also goes very deep. You have obviously Kobe, you have Tim Duncan, you have Kevin Garnett, 3 players right there that you could make a case in and of itself makes the class one of the greatest of all time. Then you add in Kim Mulkey, who we were just talking about from Baylor. She's a legend. You have Tamika Catchings on the women's side. I think that this class not only encapsulates the great players of the day, but I think it also shows the divide that we're currently experiencing as far as like basketball moving from one era to another, seeing Tim Duncan, Kevin Garnett, Kobe Bryant. I was just watching the 2013 NBA Finals. A different brand of basketball is being played, and I think that this class really recognizes the shift that these players brought as kind of transition players that played in both eras.
Exactly. These players are part of a different transition. They had a little old, but a little of the new style of the way basketball's played. Adam?
Yeah, I'm going to agree with Robert here. It definitely comes down to that 2009 and 2020 class, and I'm going to give it to the 2020 class as well, especially because of its diversity. You start at the top, obviously, with Duncan, Garnett, and Kobe, and what they meant to this generation. You got Garnett, who came out of high school and opened the door for a new generation. You got Kobe, who inspired fans. You saw the outpouring of support when that tragedy took place a couple of months and just what he meant to the game. And then Tim Duncan coming in from the U.S. Virgin Islands. Those guys, 48 All-Star appearances, 11 titles among them. But the diversity, too. You got Rudy Tomjanovich, NBA coach, Eddie Sutton, college coach, Kim Mulkey on the women's side. You got Barbara Stevens, a Division II coach who's been at Bentley College since the 1980s. And then you got Tamika Catchings, a 4-time gold medalist. So the wide range and the wide diversity and the impact they've had across of all people across America, that's why I give the 2020 class the upper hand on 2009.
Yes, you got to love the diversity. They're top heavy, but also when it comes to it, they do have very good depth in this class. Henry?
Okay, so to answer this question, it depends on what you mean by best. Now, in terms of pure talent and impact on the NBA itself, is 2020 the best class ever? I would say yes. I would give him a slight edge over Michael Jordan's class because Kobe and Duncan are 2 of arguably top 10, at least top 12, top 13 players of all time, and Kevin Garnett is no scrub. However, in terms of impact, not just on the NBA, but nationwide, worldwide, to every individual, people as individuals, I'm going to say no. I'm going to say that if those are the standards, the best Hall of Fame class ever is the 2016 Hall of Fame class with Shaq, Yao Ming, and Allen Iverson. Let me explain for a second. Shaq was the most dominant player in the history of the NBA. He was so dominant that a new strategy had to be created called the Hack-a-Shaq that is still being used today by NBA teams. Yao Ming, the effect he had in China for basketball, I mean, now there are 300 million people in China playing basketball. That's more people in China playing basketball than in the U.S. That alone is the population of the United States. There's a $4 billion contract with NBA China. That's all in thanks to Yao Ming. And then Allen Iverson, because he was a short player, he touched so many other shorter guys the same way that Steph Curry is, where he showed, listen, as long as you got heart and you have skill and you can shoot a little bit, you can make noise in the NBA. And that's what Steph Curry's doing today too.
Yeah, I mean, that's another great class. Personally, me, I do think it's the 2000. I think it's the 2020 class. Quick little thing. All those players, Duncan, Garnett, Bryant, all part of a championship-winning team in the decade of the 2000s, other than twice that year. So that's very impressive. But I'm going to give it to Robert. I like Robert's answer. Give the point to Robert. I like his answer and his point that he made about the transition of the game. They started out in the early 90s with the older guys as young guys, and then they transitioned well as an older veteran player to the new game. So, Robert, you're going to get the point there. Now we move on. The MLB season was supposed to start about 2 weeks ago. Since then, there's been a lot of debate about how to manage the season. Different strategies have been thrown out in order to make up for the lost time. One of those has been to play 7 innings when the season starts back up. The idea was taken from the way collegiate baseball conducts their doubleheader play. So, how do you think shortening the game will affect the strategy of these teams? Adam, let's start with you.
I think, honestly, what it would do is it would only slow the game down because there would be increased specialization. With 6 less outs to worry about, every runner on base, every ball in play would mean more. And so teams would look to more shifts, more pitch hitters, more pitcher specializations where you bring them in to face one batter because managers have 6 less outs to worry about from their bullpen. And so I think the biggest difference is you're going to see a lot more strategy coming in. You're not going to see relievers coming in for maybe a whole inning. You might see 3 relievers in 1 inning. So it's going to be a lot more specialization, a lot more adjustments, and a lot more slower, a lot more downtime in the game, which is something that baseball is trying to get out.
Good point there, Adam. Henry?
Well, the problem with that, Adam, is that the MLB has put in this new rule where relievers have to face a minimum of 3 batters or until the half inning is over, right? Isn't that going to be in effect this next year?
It will be, yes.
Right. Oh. So in that case, I don't mean to completely burst your argument, Adam, but so I think that if that rule is in fact in play, then I think with this 7 inning, what I think the 7 inning limit for doubleheaders would do with the new minimum batter limit is that the effect on the emphasis on starting pitching is going to be even greater because now what you can do is you can have a starter give you 6 innings and a closer. You can go with 2 pitchers for the entire game for these doubleheaders. So I think there's going to be more of an effect on more of an emphasis on starting pitching. That's going to be more important. And I think these specialist positions, because of this new rule, I mean, lefty specialist jobs are going to go out the door. There's not going to be a place for them in the MLB anymore. You're going to have to be able to face batters that bat from both sides of the plate because unless you're coming in with 2 outs, there's no use for you.
Good point there, Henry. Robert?
Yeah, I agree with Henry in some respects that this is going to throw the whole economy of baseball out the window. And it's going to come down to the depth of your pitching roster because, you're playing double headers. That doesn't mean that it's still not the same amount of time you have to rest your arm before you're back in it. And you can play these strategies. I think you'll see some teams that don't want to retool their entire pitching roster for 1 year if they don't think that they're going to be good enough to make the playoffs anyway. And you'll see them just kind of give up and play whoever here and there and get through the season. What I think the MLB might want to look into doing is say, hey, let's play this like the NBA. Let's do 82 games straight up. Keep the baseball economy the same so that way, like Henry was saying, people in like left-handed pitchers aren't losing their jobs. You aren't having like the whole integrity of the baseball economy thrown into ruin. I'd say, and it would make it way more interesting, not 162 games. If you're not going to get the ticket sales anyway from the fans, make it 82 games, up the stakes for every game, and make it kind of like an NBA season.
Yes, great answer there, Robert. I'm going to give this point to Henry. I do like Henry's points there with the pitching. I think that starting pitching is going to be a premium now. And you have one of those aces that can give you 6 great innings and you throw the closer in there for three outs at the end. That would be a huge plus. So, Henry, you're getting the point. We move on now to the last question. And the NFL All-Decade team came out recently for the 2010s. The team is headlined by a slew of unanimously voted in players, including Tom Brady, J.J. Watt, and many others. There's already so much talent on this team. But in your guys' opinion, who was the biggest snub left off the All-Decade team? Henry, we're going to start with you.
Okay, so when I looked at this All-Decade team, the first thing that caught my eye was the tight end positions. Now, It caught my eye for a couple reasons. One, couldn't believe that Rob Gronkowski was not a unanimous selection. I'm sure that has to do with his injuries. I get that, but still, when he was healthy, Rob Gronkowski was by far the most dominant tight end in the history of the NFL. So that's number one. But number two, my biggest snub is going to be Jason Witten. Now, Travis Kelce deserves his spot, and I'm not doubting that. However, I think that the reason he got the edge over Witten probably has to do with a little bit of recency bias. But people forget that Jason Witten was very consistent, one of the best tight ends in the NFL for several years. That's my first point. My second point, quickly, Pete Carroll should not be on this list. Like, I'm sorry. I know that, yes, X's and O's, he was a great coach, but he blew a Super Bowl. And I don't mean to, define him by one mistake, but he blew the Super Bowl. He didn't give the ball to Marshawn Lynch because he wanted to kind of be the man and look like the smarter than everyone, know something that other people don't, and throwing the ball. That blew up a dynasty. So when you blow a Super Bowl and in turn blows up an entire dynasty, you shouldn't be on the all-decade team.
So your answer, to make clear, is Jason Witten, though.
Yes. I just had to add that.
Okay. There's a lot to unpack there, Henry. Robert?
Yeah, I'm going to turn to the quarterback. I'm going to turn to the quarterback position, and I'm going to say Drew Brees. I think not so much because of Brees himself, but because of Rodgers being ahead of him on the list. If you want to compare guys statistically, which is, in my eyes, the only way people see Rodgers as a great quarterback. I mean, he's won one Super Bowl, and since then, what has he given the game of football other than being a great statistical quarterback? He hasn't made a deep run. He hasn't really done anything since then. And Drew Brees statistically is better. More yards, more touchdowns, higher completion percentage. He's been playing more inspired football in New Orleans. And you want to know, this technically happened in the last decade, technically in the season before it. He outdueled Peyton Manning, my beloved Peyton Manning, and my Colts in Super Bowl 44, won that Super Bowl, really proved to everybody that he was not just the guy that had gotten lucky coming over from the Chargers, but that he was really a force to be reckoned with. I think Tom Brady, of course, no doubt deserves the number one spot as the greatest quarterback of the last decade, and that, as much as that hurts me to say. But Drew Brees, to me, has the Super Bowl championship pedigree and the statistical pedigree above Aaron Rodgers, and I think it was a real robbery.
Yeah, I think that's a tough one. You only put two quarterbacks on there. That's a really, really tough spot to get, and those three quarterbacks are great. Adam?
Yeah, I think Drew Brees was definitely a snub, but for the biggest snub, I'm going to go with Terrell Suggs. He's been in the league the whole decade. He came in, he had 81.5 sacks, 21 forced fumbles. He had 4 Pro Bowls. He won 2 Super Bowl titles, and he was a leader on that Ravens defense. He took them to the Super Bowl, win over the Niners, I believe. And then this year he comes in, he joins the Chiefs, he leads them through the postseason, and they win the Super Bowl there. So it's just his impact he had defensively. And you look at someone like Chandler Jones, sure, he's a Super Bowl title, but he was never really a star on the Patriots defense. So I think the biggest snub is Terrell Suggs, because I think he's better than the players at that linebacker position, where you look at Rodgers and Brees, and I think it's more of an argument you can have there than when you look at Terrell Suggs' pedigree.
Yeah, those are all great answers, guys. I'm going to give it to Adam, and it's based off the fact that I do like the person you're excluding, because with the other ones, Witten, it's tough to put on in front of Kelce and Gronkowski, and same with Brees. I know Brees is good, but it's really, really close when it comes to Rodgers and Brees. But I do think Terrell Suggs, just the longevity in this whole decade, the early part especially, definitely has the accolades to be put over Chandler Jones. So, Adam, you're getting the points there. After this round, we have 9 points Henry, 8 points Adam, and 8 points Robert. It's still anybody's game going into rapid fire, though. When we come back, the panel will decide what Longhorn State quarterback shined the most in college and who their dynamic duo would be in an NFL broadcast. Welcome back to College Crossfire, the hottest debate show out there. And now it's time for the rapid fire round. Let's quickly recap the score, though. We have Henry with 9, Adam with 8, and Robert with 8. And remember, the question of this round is worth 2 points, so it's still anybody's game. During this offseason, it was rumored that Tony Romo or Peyton Manning would be heading to ESPN for Monday Night Football. Well, we now know that Romo got paid the big bucks to stay with CBS, and that Manning would be only interested if a big name like Al Michaels came back to the network. With the broadcast team for Monday Night Football up in the air, who do you guys see, or who do you guys want to see on the broadcast on Mondays? Anybody can hop in.
Well, this is just the first thing that came to mind. What if we saw Eli Manning and Peyton Manning, saw some little friendly brotherly banter? I think that would be kind of funny. You guys ever seen the This is Sports Center commercial of Eli and Peyton where they're kind of messing with each other as they're getting a tour of the Sports Center studios? I think that'd be great. You add in some humor, like I said, with the brotherly banter. I think Eli and Peyton Manning as a duo could be great.
That's a good one right there. Robert or Adam?
Yeah, I'm going to agree with Henry there on the Peyton Manning. I think he is a great color commentator. He would bring the same analysis as Romo. But for my lead commentator, I would bring the energy of Gus Johnson. He is electric on Fox Sports. He loses his mind through long touchdowns or crazy buzzer beaters. That's the kind of energy I think that Monday Night Football would want to bring to their broadcast.
That's a good duo right there. Robert?
Yeah, I think we might want to look at something that would be totally out of the box, some competitors. Probably won't happen, but if it did, it would be huge. I want to see Al Michaels from NBC step back into Monday Night Football, but alongside him, I want to bring the young kid that's been doing it, well, in the world of commentary, of course, the young kid that's been doing a fantastic job at CBS, Tony Romo. Put them together in ABC Monday Night Football, maybe have some on ABC, some on CBS. Listen, that's probably not going to fly as far as TV rights go, but as far as my dream duo, I want to hear Al Michaels and Tony Romo. I think those guys, superheroes when it comes to being inside the booth. And Monday Night Football should be a superhero type deal. That's my dream duo.
Theo, those are all great answers. The only issue I have with Henry's is Eli and Peyton is great, but you need some guy who's got some color, who's got some play-by-play experience there. But this is a tough one. But I'm going to go with Adam here. Personally, I'm a huge Gus Johnson guy, and I think that they need to lighten it up. In the past, Joe Tessitore, Sean McDonough, those guys were a little more calm and cool and collected. But Monday Night Football, bringing that energy back with Gus Johnson, I think that's a great choice. Adam, you're getting the 2 points there. Since the start of the new century, there's many great quarterbacks to play college football in the state of Texas, from national champions, trophy winners, to future NFL MVPs. For this question, I need y'all to give me your ranking of these 4 quarterbacks based off of their college performance only. Vince Young of Texas, Patrick Mahomes of Texas Tech, Robert Griffin III of Baylor, and Johnny Manziel of Texas A&M. From worst, give me your list, guys.
This shouldn't even be. There's one of these things is not like the other, and does not deserve to be on this list. If we're talking collegiately, I sit here in Lubbock, Texas, and I'm going to trash Patrick Mahomes' Texas Tech career. That doesn't have everything to do with him. Mostly has to do with the coach Cliff Kingsbury, who Texas Tech is still paying on their payroll right now. Patrick Mahomes, the worst quarterback. From there. His best season was at 8-5. From there, I think it gets a little tricky when you're talking RG3 and Johnny Manziel. And I'm going to rank RG3 a little bit above Johnny Manziel. 1, because I'm biased, and Texas A&M, is Texas A&M. They're the other school in Texas. And 2, because I think RG3 really brought a stir to the game during his Heisman season. I think he changed a lot in terms of football and the way that people thought that the best players could even be. And Johnny Manziel was kind of after that era, played a little similarly to RG3, but didn't have the same kind of skill. And RG3 went on to have a better career than Johnny Manziel, though that's not saying much. And then, of course, number 1, I think Vince Young. Any normal year he wins the Heisman, only because of Reggie and Matt Leinart. Does he not? And then, of course, caps it off with the national championship. I think he's the obvious number 1.
Great ranking, great analysis, Robert. Adam or Henry?
I'll go ahead quickly. So I'm gonna mostly agree with Robert's list. Patrick Patrick Mahomes, I mean, might all time of these four, probably all time of these four, is going to go down as the best NFL quarterback. However, in terms of college career strictly, I'm going to put Mahomes at number 4. I'm going to flip-flop what Robert said. I'm going to put RG3 third, and I'm going to put Johnny Manziel second. Listen, when you're given the nickname Johnny Football, your name plus the sport that you play, that means that clearly you're doing something right. And Vince Young, like Robert said, wasn't able to win that Heisman just because it was a really competitive year. But at the end of the day, he got what was the most important thing, and that was that national championship. So I'm going Mahomes, RG3, Johnny Manziel, Vince Young. I believe we lost that.
Yeah, I've got to agree with Henry there. You got Mahomes on the bottom. Just
I'm
because.
Sorry about
Hey, there we go.
Sorry about that.
Yeah, Mahomes is on the bottom. Some of that's because Texas Tech doesn't play defense up in Lubbock. I think he threw for 700 yards against Oklahoma, and they still lost. So then I'm going to agree with Henry. I'm going to put RG3 just below Johnny Manziel, and it's just because of the signature plays that Manziel came up with during his A&M career. I mean, that win over Alabama lives in the mind. A&M still brags about that win. And so just what Johnny Manziel brought to that campus, winning the Heisman as a redshirt freshman, and then obviously these guys are a whole tier below Vince Young and what he accomplished at Texas, winning that national championship, that boost you to the top. And that picture of him in the corner, running for the corner and holding that football up in the corner of the Rose Bowl will live in Texas minds forever.
I mean, watch. It's all great answers.
Yeah, and I think
it's unfortunate, but Robert, you have something to say or no?
Yeah, if we're talking Texas Tech best Tech quarterback, not Patrick Mahomes, it's Graham Harrell.
Interesting. I like that answer as well. And as much as I would like to know what Henry's answer is, I didn't get the full answer, unfortunately. But I do like the answer of Robert, and I like your answer the most. I'm going to give you the 2 points. The reason why is because I like the way you did not give Patrick Mahomes all this glaring credit. You did rip into him a little. You're a Lubbock native. You know him well. You know I got to give you the 2 points there. Robert, you're getting the 2 points. Let's move on to the last question, though. This week, it was reported that President Gregory Fenves would be leaving the University of Texas at Austin in June for a job at Emory University. Fenves was the university president for 5 years and was at the university for 12. Today, it was announced that Jay Harzel, the dean of the business school, will replace Fenves on an interim basis. However, it's only an interim role, so let's have a little fun here, guys. Who do you think would make a great president of UT starting next semester?
I'll go first quickly. I mean, the popular answer here is going to be Matthew McConaughey. I'm not going to say that because, like I said, I think it's going to be a generic answer here. I'm going to say the one and only Kevin Robbins, journalism professor. Put him up in the top seat. He will get the job done.
Kevin Robbins, that's the answer. Journalism. Robert, Adam? Answer anybody?
I'll go. I'm going to go with Craig Way here, the voice of the Texas Longhorns. I could listen to his voice all day long, going crazy over Justin Tucker's kick or Javon Felix's game winner against North Carolina. I think he'd make a perfect president to make the announcements. He's been there. He knows Texas sports. He knows Texas. He travels all over the country to cover them. I could listen to his voice all day. I put Craig Way in charge at Texas.
Craig Way, there it is. We got Craig Way, we got Kevin Robbins, and Robert.
You know, I said it in one of my early answers. I'm going to say it now. The 3 letters that have helped Texas fans for so long, CDC. He has electrified the Texas sports program. He's made all the right moves, most of the right moves. I'm going to give him 100% credit, but as pretty much as perfect as any athletic director can be at a university like Texas with all the history, with everything. Takes time on Twitter to answer fans directly. He knows his stuff, and he knows how to obviously navigate the political bureaucracy that is when you're going to become the president of something like that. And he has the know-how. I think it's the obvious choice, CDC.
Those were all great answers, guys. This is the decider right here who will win, and I'm going to give it to Robert. I do like the CDC answer. I think that, if CDC could do it, if he could – he came as an athletic director only a couple years ago, and he's made a lot of moves. He could just keep rising and rising. We'll never know. But I think CDC is going to take the cake. And, Robert, that means you're our winner today. Robert, congratulations. And it's time for FaceTime. So, Robert, take it away.
Awesome. Normally, I would shout out my family. They're all here with me, so I can just give them a shout out here in a few seconds. I want to shout out everybody watching us and everybody at TSTV. You know, y'all guys obviously make so much possible for me, and have given me a great opportunity to do the stuff I love. And during this time, it's a little difficult, but I mean, look at the stuff we're still putting on, and that goes out to our great sports director Justin Morris, and then obviously Daniel Shee as well, and everybody involved, and you know, all of our viewers that continue to watch us. Thank you so much, and thank you to everybody that tuned in tonight and has tuned in for Press Box as well.
Great FaceTime, Robert. Excellent FaceTime. I think that deserves a round of applause right there. Thank you, panel, again, and congrats again to our winner, Robert Trevino. Thank you for tuning into the show tonight. Next week, we will welcome back some familiar faces in our annual College Crossfire alumni show. You won't want to miss it. I'm telling you right now, you really won't want to miss that one. Don't forget to follow at TSTV Sports on social media. And from all panelists, producers, and members of TSTV Sports, stay safe and have a wonderful rest of your week.